We last saw Asta surrounded by Raids' allies. They unleash a barrage of magic attacks, but Asta manages to deflect it with his crazy movement abilities. Leopold joins the fray, while Noel summons a water wall to defend themselves and the dying Fugolian. However, the shield is absorbed by tree magic, while Asta and Leon are impaled by wind needles. Before they can do any further damage, the magic knights return after they reluctantly pooled their magic together. Mimosa immediately works to heal Fugolian while Nozel unleashes a barrage of mercury, but it is absorbed by specially enhanced salamander magic. The magicians manage to kidnap Asta, and before they escape through one of Volto's portals, they introduce themselves as the Eye of the Midnight Sun and declare that one day they will destroy the Clover Kingdom. Unable to spare resources to find Asta, they leave them to his fate. Voltos is scolded by his allies for his recklessness, while Sally, the magician who kidnapped Asta, is told that they must kill him despite her desire to dissect him. When they descend into a tunnel, they find the wizard King Julius waiting for them. He instantly kills 2 of the magicians while effortlessly avoiding the attacks of the remaining 5. He traps them in time stasis magic while a bewildered Asta looks on in awe at his sheer power. Julius turns to him and says that if he wants to be the Wizard King, this level of magic is something he will have to surpass. Julius then walks over to a slab of stone with strange symbols he had never seen before, and intends to interrogate the magicians once they return to Clover Kingdom. Suddenly, a bright flash of light swallows them all and a braided member of the Eye of the Midnight Sun appears. The braided man is able to escape with several of the Midnight Sun members, but Julius was able to retain one. He suspects that the man was their leader based on how powerful his magic was. He is called back to the capital by Marx, where he learns that Fugolian is in a precarious state. After the Magic Knights perform a full sweep around the city, he orders the strengthening of the defenses of the Clover Kingdom. Nozel excuses himself, swearing revenge upon those who hurt Fugolian. Leopold reawakens and declares that he will one day surpass his brother, burning a mark onto his forehead to remind him of this oath. The reconstruction of the city proceeds smoothly, but Julius suspects a traitor among the Magic Knights' ranks. Meanwhile, in the Midnight Sun's base, Raid swears to exact revenge on Asta, while Sally, curious about his anti-magic properties, says that she should be allowed to experiment on him alive. The leader of the Midnight Sun was struck by a smidgen of Julius's power, shriveling one of his arms, and while acknowledging Julius's phenomenal magic. Back in the kingdom, Asta and Noel receive muffins from the girl they had saved, which are immediately swiped away. Charmy. She is in a good mood due to seeing Yuno, whom she calls her food prince. Mimosa, Klaus, and Yuno pass by, and to her surprise Asta and Yuno are acquainted. Yuno suddenly unleashes wind magic on Asta, who cuts it down in the nick of time. He then sees letters written by the magic which says "See you later, Shrimpsta," basically meaning Shrimp Asta, which absolutely infuriates him. The two go their separate ways, both eager to become stronger than the other. Asta and Noel return to the Black Bull's base, where Magna and Luck have returned from their mission, earning a star for their efforts. To their surprise, Asta was made a third-class junior magic knight for his efforts, while Charmy was made a first class for her capture of Catherine, who immediately brags to the others. Magna and Luck are despondent as they are still 5th class. However, Asta worries about the state of Fugolian, but Yami reassures him, saying that it would take more than that to kill him. As Asta is put on a rest break, Finral invites him to a mixer. Finral has trouble deciding on who else to take with him to a mixer, crossing out the Black Bull's members one by one until he decides to take Luck. They leave behind Gordon, who wanted to go the whole time. The three are transported to the city of Need, where Noel has sneakily followed them, worried and flustered that Asta is going to a mixer. They arrive at the DV Rinker, a bar where they meet and introduce themselves to the girls. While Finral and Luck show off their magic abilities, while Asta proudly proclaims he will be the Wizard King. The girls internally monologue that they find them troublesome, especially since they are Black Bulls. They then introduce themselves as Rebecca, Helene, and Erica. Finral tries to get a conversation going, but Luck and Asta are hopelessly useless, and he begins to despair at his failure of a mixer. Disguised as a barmaid, Noel is glad it isn't going well. Sek also happens to be at a nearby mixer, but the girls are also put off by his eccentric behavior. When he yells at Noel to get him another drink, she fires a water bolt at him, earning her the respect of the girls, who give an enthusiastic thumbs up. By some miracle, the Black Bull's mixer begins to go well. Helene becomes enamored with Luck, and the two go outside to showcase their magic to each other, while Erica decides to go along with Finral despite his gaudiness. Asta is left alone with Rebecca, who appears to want nothing to do with him. However, the two soon bond over their mutual love of their siblings and they start to get along. A drunken man begins to bother and insult Rebecca, but Asta flings him across the room into sex mixer, causing the girls to leave. Rebecca grabs Asta and they run into an alleyway while Noel follows them closely. Rebecca becomes somewhat infatuated with Asta and asks him if there's a girl he likes, to which Asta replies he does. Although disappointed, she does not plan to give up, while Noel assumes that the girl Asta likes is her. Meanwhile, Finral and Luck are both rejected by the girls and they sadly go home. Asta continues to train hard to be the Wizard King while various characters recall their memories of him climbing the ranks. In Hage, Sister Lily and Father Orsi are proud of Asta after hearing of his exploits at the capital. With the funds he and Yuno send back, they now live quite comfortably. Alongside the Master of the Grimoire Tower, they recall Asta's struggle and pain at not receiving a grimoire during the initiation ceremony, but they are relieved that everything has turned out well for the boy without magic. In the Black Bull's base, Gordon keeps a diary recording the adventures of his best friend Asta. He recalls Asta's impressive display during the Magic Night ceremony and his first few days of doing chores at the Black Bull's base. Still flustered at the misunderstanding the Asta likes her, Noel cannot accept that she could have feelings for a commoner but concedes that on certain occasions he has acted quite cool, including the battles of Saucy Village and Mars. Asta returns to the base where an embarrassed Noel sends him flying with a burst of water. Meanwhile, Yuno, Mimosa, and Klaus prepare to leave on a mission, but the former are embarrassed at the chariot Klaus has prepared for them. As they leave separately on their brooms, Yuno remembers his promise with Asta. From a young age, the two were already sworn rivals to become the Wizard King. He admires him as the one who gave him hope. In Hage, Sister Lily and Father Orsi are delighted to hear that Yuno has been made a first-class junior magic knight, but are surprised to also learn that Asta has been made a third class. With Yami giving the Black Bulls a day off, Gauche visits his sister Marie at Nîmes to celebrate her birthday. Likewise, Asta asks Magna to take him to Nîmes, having promised to play with Rebecca's siblings. Curious about how it will go, Noel secretly follows him. Gauche buys out the entire gift shop for Marie, where he recalls as a former convict. She is his only joy and reason for living. When he arrives near the church, he is horrified to see Marie playing with Asta. He angrily starts kicking him, but when Marie says that she will marry Asta one day, he starts firing mirror bolts at him. Gauche is stopped by Sister Teresa in charge of the local orphanage and takes Marie away with her. Distraught that Marie is taken away from him, he once again turns to stone. Rebecca invites them to her restaurant and to stay the night, where she prepares a feast for Asta. He praises her cooking skills, saying she would make a good wife someday. Rebecca's siblings, who have taken a liking to Asta, encourage her to jump him tonight, causing her to be flustered. Overhearing everything, Noel becomes greatly annoyed. That night, Rebecca is conscious of her siblings' suggestion to jump Asta in his sleep, and she gets up to check on her siblings. At the same time, Ghost jumps Asta in his sleep, attacking him and launching him out into the street where it is strangely snowing. Rebecca rushes out of the house and tells Asta that her siblings are missing. Across the city, distressed parents exit their homes, calling out to their missing children. Meanwhile, a white-haired magician leads flocks of children away, calling them his new best friends. Sister Teresa informs Ghost that even Marie has been taken away, and they immediately leave to find her using one of Ghosh's mirrors that Marie always has on her. Noel is told to stay behind to defend the city and contact Magic Knight headquarters to inform them of what is happening. When she does, she finds that Sek has been assigned to help out, much to her dismay. Marie awakens, having snapped out of the hypnosis due to the mirror. She finds two men, Nij, who uses snow magic, and Barrow, a large burly man. The pair work to kidnap children and drain them of their magic. Barrow uses his special glasses and sees that Marie has a wealth of magic inside her. He throws one of Rebecca's siblings, called Marco, into the snow after detecting him with little magic. When Asta, Teresa, and Ghosh see Marco out in the snow, Asta and Teresa drop down to tend to him while Ghosh goes on ahead. Asta taps Marco with his sword, cancelling out the hypnosis, and Teresa casts soothing fire magic to heal his wounds. Meanwhile, Ghosh enters the cave just in time to see Marie being dragged to have her magic power sucked out of her. To his horror, he sees scratches on Marie and he flies into a rage. Nij and Barrow are unnerved at having to fight a magic knight, and when Nij is unable to keep him at bay for long, Barrow takes Marie hostage, forcing Ghosh to stop. However, Marie is saved by the arrival of Asta and Teresa. Marie runs and hugs Asta instead of Ghosh, and the latter is crestfallen. Teresa begins inspecting the children and finds that many of them have had their magic sucked out and are unlikely to ever use magic again in the future. Nij and Barrow are cornered, but using his special glasses, Barrow identifies that Asta has no magical power whatsoever and volunteers to fight him himself, but to his shock he is blasted away. Asta says he will never forgive them for hurting the children. Sek arrives at the Black Bull's base to find reinforcements for Nîmes, but finds the place trashed. He is frightened by Gordon and Gray. An irate Yami, thinking Sek is a debt collector, grabs him by the head. Meanwhile, Nij is defeated by Ghosh while Teresa restrains Barrow. Asta becomes enraged by Barrow, who shows no remorse for his actions. While Teresa begins healing the other children, Barrow secretly sends out a mud minion to call for help. Teresa calls out to Asta and tells him that Sister Lily once trained at their church in Nîmes. He excitedly asks her what Lily says about him, and she replies that she knows him to be short and noisy, but has an indomitable spirit that never gives up, a trait which Sister Lily tries to emulate. Suddenly, Sally appears, responding to Barrow's distress signal. Gauche fires off a volley of beams in a frenzy, but they are all repelled by her salamander. Asta attempts to cut her, but she easily avoids his strikes and captures him. Before she can do any more damage, Teresa frees him using fire magic, revealing that she was once a magic knight of the Crimson Lions, carrying the epithet of the She-Leopard and a mentor to Fugolian. Sally contemplates that a 3-on-1 fight may be disadvantageous to her, however Barrow asks her to heal him so he can help, but he secretly plots to escape at a moment's notice. She then injects him with a dangerous drug, radically transforming him into a giant mud abomination. To their shock, Gauche, not wanting to expose Marie to even more danger, grabs her and makes a run for it, leaving Asta, Teresa, and the other children to fend for themselves despite Marie's protests. Now the mud monster, Barrow, begins to go on a rampage, and Teresa summons a flame cheetah to get the children to safety, but it will take time for all of them to get out. Barrow tries to crush Nige, but Asta deflects the blow, telling Nige that he has yet to pay for his crimes. Meanwhile, Gauche continues to escape as he doesn't care what happens to others as long as Marie is safe. In a flashback, it is revealed that they were once part of the wealthy Adlai family, but when their parents were killed, their fortune was swindled away by their rivals. Now left to fend for themselves, Gauche stole and robbed from others until he was finally arrested and sent to prison, while Marie was sent to an orphanage with Teresa. Back in the present, he snaps out of it when Marie tells him that he hates him for being so pathetic. Gauche drops her off with the others and, desiring to have his sister be proud of him, returns to Asta and Teresa, but expects them to have run away, as he feels that in the end people only care about themselves. To his surprise, Asta and Teresa are still there, valiantly defending the children as they escape. He arrives in time to Asta's aid, but his mirror magic has little effect on Barrow. He is struck from out of the sky by Barrow, and Asta defends him again. Deciding for the first time to work with someone else, Gauche creates a new spell in his grimoire and tells Asta to look into his eye. He summons a whole brigade of Astas with swords empowered by Gauche's mirror magic, and they successfully kill Barrow while incapacitating Sally. While Nige accepts responsibility for his and his brother's actions, a bright light suddenly envelops the cave, but Nige and Gauche are suddenly attacked by light spears, while Teresa is mortally injured while defending Asta. They look on in horror as the leader of the Eye of the Midnight Sun appears, introducing himself as Licht. Asta is shocked to see that Licht also has a 4-leaf clover grimoire like Yuno. As Teresa begins to bleed out, Asta considers a suicide charge against Licht. Angered that Asta has the 5-leaf clover grimoire, Licht attempts to take it from him. Using Finral's magic, Yami appears just in time to save Asta. He instructs Finral to take home the injured, but expects him to return, which scares Finral as he had planned to just stay out harm's way. Eager to see his captain in action, Asta elects to stay behind while Licht is curious to fight Yami's dark magic. During their duel, Licht tells Yami of his story. He once hailed from a village filled with talented magicians, but they were slaughtered and their magic was stolen from them. Yami, who says his story sucks, tells his own. He was a fisherman from a land of the sun where he washed ashore in the Clover Kingdom, and after beating up a bunch of guys he was made captain. When Yami learns Licht was the one responsible for injuring Fugolian, he explodes into a flurry and manages to injure Licht with a dark magic slash, greatly impressing Asta. Yami says that there's no way Licht could have beaten Fugolian without doing anything underhanded, and invites him to face the true power of a magic knight captain. Yami tells Asta to help him and teaches him about the power of Kai, a kind of sixth sense which allows him to predict and counter Licht's attacks. Asta says it is impossible for him to do it so suddenly, and Yami replies that if he plans to be the Wizard King, then he must surpass his limits right here, right now. He tells him to practice it on Voltos, not just by relying on his ears, but by honing all 5 senses to act as one. Asta concentrates deeply and manages to deflect one of Volto's curse bolts back at him, which enraged Licht, who uses impossible to predict light whips to counter their use of Kai. The onslaught causes the cave to collapse in on them. He thinks he is victorious, but to his surprise Yami and Asta burst out from under the rubble. Yami and Licht continue their duel, with his black magic being a natural enemy to his enemy's light magic. Licht grows to respect Yami's ability, recognizing him as a worthy foe. Yami asks him for his intentions in the Clover Kingdom, and he replies that he wishes to establish a new kingdom, one free of the corruption and discrimination that commoners and non-magic people face. Asta is astounded at his captain's power, and Yami instructs him to deal with Voltos in his own way. Asta charges but is held back by a barrage of curse bolts that come from strange angles. He decides to discard his weapon and instead go through a portal that Voltos made, punching him in the face, amusing Yami, who finds the fact that he just punched a guy hilarious. Licht tries to sneak up on Yami, but his sword absorbs his magic and he finds himself unable to move. Yami slashes him with black magic, seriously injuring Licht. Badly wounded, Licht acknowledges Yami as the second person to ever fight him as an equal. He begins preparing a massive spell with a range so large and power so devastating that it would be impossible to defend against. Meanwhile, Ghost looks over at a dying Teresa, who gifts him with what little magic she has left and tells him to go and save Asta. Fearing she has died, he is relieved when she was just pretending to die. He asks Finral for his assistance in returning to the cave. Yami prepares a defensive measure but remarks that they will likely die. Even Asta would die before he can try to slash the beam. Finral and Ghosh arrive just in time for Licht to fire his magic, the Holy Ray of Light. Ghosh has Finral swap him with Asta and Yami. Using his magic, he reflects the beam right back at him, remarking that mirrors always reflect light. Meanwhile, several members of the Midnight Sun look on at Sally's injured body and decide now is the time for them to come out. As the children start returning to Neen, Noel and Rebecca go out in search of Marco and the rest. They follow Nero back to the church where they find an injured Teresa. Noel learns that they are still in the cave, fighting. Yami and the others approach Licht, who regains consciousness long enough to recognize Ghosh as a friend from long ago, despite Ghosh himself having no recollection of who he is. Yami restrains both Licht and Voltos with a dark binding, while they wait for Finral's spatial magic to recover, much to his and Ghosh's annoyance. Suddenly, 3 members of the Midnight Sun emerge from a portal, one of whom, Raya, uses light magic to touch Yami's grimoire. Another, Fauna, begins to heal Licht with fire-based healing magic. Licht identifies as his strongest members, even stronger than he, the third eye. The 3 leap into battle and Yami is startled that Raya copied his dark magic, saying that he'll sue him for copyright infringement. The third member, called Veto, uses his monstrous beast magic to pressure Yami, even destroying his prized katana. Things look dire for the Black Bulls as both Finral and Ghosh are dangerously low on magic, while Asta and Yami have been pushed back. Things take a turn for the worse when Fauna, spiteful that they harmed Licht, wields one of the 4 great spirits, Salamander, in battle. Yami just barely defends himself against her fire blast and must now defend against the third eye's onslaught with a broken katana. Finral recognizes that Yami is outmatched, with Licht even claiming that each of the third eye is stronger than a magic squad captain. As the third eye prepare to finish off a defenseless Yami, a flash of light appears before him. As the dust settles, 3 magic knight captains emerge to his rescue: Nozel of the Silver Eagles, Charlotte of the Blue Roses, and Jack the Ripper of the Green Praying Mantises. Jack takes offense that the third eye claims to be stronger than a captain and wants to put that theory to the test. The 2 sides stare each other down and a cataclysmic battle awaits, bringing the anime to an end. Comment for part 4. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.